There we go. Welcome in, everybody. It's Thursday, man. I'm in vacation mode, so I'm completely missed out, but with another day to make $1 with daily bread, and we've been alluding to it with college football coming back. We've got our first football guest for the season, Nicholas Ian Allen. You can call him Nick. Make sure you guys all get in the comments with any questions you come in here. One of our things is our viewers like to argue with each other and get real hype in the comments, so we could get some spicy stuff there. But as usual, your way to get your daily dollar, powered by Pick City, live on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. My buddies are on the golf course right now for draft weekend. I'm here in the house not golfing right now, so the fellas need some picks later on, Sosa, for the board. But enough of talking from us, Sosa and I. Nick, how are you? What do you want to let the people know?
Hey, I'm doing great. Happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I run a little Patreon called CFB Winning Edge, patreon.com/CFB Winning Edge, and have a lot of data that have compiled over the last few years, player ratings, base that use those, build on top of them with position ratings, and then overall team ratings, and have been projecting point spreads since the 2018 season. Do it maybe a little bit different than some, have kind of an official projection model that incorporates those player ratings, team ratings, what I call team performance, which is on-field statistical performance, and then some coaching ratings as well, which is just coach-specific team performance, and just kind of combine all that together and throw it in a formula and spits out some projected point spreads that have been pretty good for us, and then have a couple of other models that kind of isolate the talent only component and then the stats only component, just to add a little more context. And what's really been good for us in last year was sort of our highest performing model was actually when we combined the three and looked at when they all three lined up on one side or the other, and had some success with that. So I like to try to look at matchups, as many ways as possible, kind of take my own opinion out of it, and just sort of look for when the on-field performance lines up with the talent component, lines up with the coaching, and then all that other stuff. And we've been fortunate to have some success, and looking forward to the 2021 season.
I feel like you're being a bit humbled. I'm looking at the numbers. The numbers say that you've had a lot of success, but it looked, like I said, it's when Rex showed me, gave me a little bit of, about like what you were doing. Like when he said we should have you on the show, I was like, absolutely. Knowledge and information is the number one, or the two most important things in this at the end of the day. So, just as far as this season starts, I don't know exactly what questions Rex has, but I want to know who are, a couple of teams that aren't on anyone's radar. I mean, we all know the Blue Bloods, the teams that are going to get all of the hype, and we all think that it's either going to be Alabama, Clemson, or Oklahoma, maybe Georgia, but they always fade. But like just some teams that that's what I want to start with. I want to start with some teams that you think have a legit chance to make some noise this season. That's not on people's radars per se, based on what based on data you've collected and just information. Just want to just get some of that, some of that first.
Sure. Well, so really early in the process, kind of I work on the data every day, try to take into account injuries, transfers, all that good stuff, other personnel moves. And so at the end of one season and heading into the next, I can kind of forecast. I've gotten sort of a feel for how things will trend when it's time to turn it over to the new season. So I'm always really, really interested that first time that futures are posted, basically the day of the national championship game. And so at that point, I was ready to invest pretty heavily in Oklahoma and Georgia. I thought that both of those teams had a chance to be our preseason number one, just sort of based on how things were trending. And it ended up that Georgia spent most of the offseason number two in our power rankings. They've since fallen just a little bit, some of the injuries. They're down at number 4. Oklahoma is number 3 in our model. But that sort of is my starting point. What could I potentially be early on that maybe some others might be a little slow to realize maybe just how strong those rosters will be looking ahead to the next year. But then once I start looking a little farther down the list, one that just kept popping out to me that the first time we ran our projections, and we've got projected point spreads for every game all year for every team that just automatically update based on new information when we're changing stuff in the profiles. And pretty much the entire time, start to finish, during the preseason, Washington has been favored in every regular season game. So that sort of stuck out to me. Yeah, it was a surprise because, a lot of people are high on Oregon. They play Oregon at home. Our numbers are a little lower on Oregon than some, not crazy by any stretch. They're 11th in our power ranking, second in the Pac-12. But Washington, who's 15th in our ratings and 4th in the Pac-12, the schedule just sets up really, really well. They host Oregon, they host Arizona State, they miss USC and also host UCLA. So a lot of their tougher matchups are at home, and we've got them favored by at least 2 points in every regular season game. Only expect 9.5 wins on average, but if corn flips could go the right way, they're a team maybe that is undervalued, perhaps in part based on some of the talent that maybe some folks might not realize they're as talented as they are, but the schedule definitely a part of that as well. And then Arizona State's a team that we're also high on. So Pac-12, I guess, and it's possible that the small sample of last season, I'm a little bit worried that that could mess with the numbers a little bit. And of course, Arizona State's got some off the field stuff that we just can't really quantify, but they're in a pretty strong position as well, 13th right now in our power ratings. The schedule is pretty favorable. They have an early trip to UCLA that's a little bit tricky, but they get USC at home. That game at Washington right now is the only game where we project that they'll be an underdog. So maybe, I know the Pac-12, some people, think about the last few years have disappointed, but two teams that could potentially make some noise.
I like the Washington take. They've been the best. They've probably been the most consistent team in the Pac-12 over the last 5 years, outside of probably Oregon. They made a college football playoff a couple of years ago. Obviously, it's a different coach at Washington now. Peterson's gone. But I like that. They've also put a ton of guys in the pros. I like the fact that you said Arizona State too. Arizona State they've put a ton of guys in the pros as of recently as well. They're one of those programs. Herm Edwards doing a great job down there putting guys in the NFL. So I like that. That's an interesting take. I like Pac-12 football. It's underrated, and obviously we all know that sometimes the voters will be partial to that team simply because we don't stay up on the East Coast to watch those games. That's like the biggest knock, right? Why guys that are in the Pac-12 don't win the Heisman. We're not watching the games. The voters are all on the East Coast, and by the time 11 o'clock comes on, they're not watching the game on ESPN. So I'm definitely going to be locked in now more into Washington's games because I was hearing Oregon as like a dead runaway, but I like that. I really do like that take. We got a question about what are your thoughts on Iowa State? They got Purdy back at quarterback, I believe, this year.
Yeah. So Iowa State is, again, one of those teams that very early on, I could tell our numbers were going to just love. And one of the things that we do, sort of the power ratings and the player ratings, they're built based on the first ingredient is just raw talent, like from 247 Sports. And then what we wanted to do was weight that a little bit because there are certainly some instances where guys are, underrated coming out of high school. Development is definitely a thing. So we wanted to wait for experience a little bit and then career production because there are just, some guys who might be 2 stars or low 3 stars, especially at the G5 level, who just blow up and become really, really good players. So we wanted to find a way for them to catch up a little bit to the 5-star guys. And Iowa State has, of course, been a developmental program. The recruiting numbers are consistently in the 40s and 50s, but they've been able to piece together some really talented guys, some guys who've played a lot of football. Brock Purdy, 34 starts by our count, and has been pretty productive. He's certainly maybe not progressed quite as much as some would have expected in the last couple of years, but still solid guy, not going to hurt you too much. Breece Hall is one of the best running backs in the country. They've got all conference players at every unit on the team. And then they were able to take advantage of the extra year of eligibility. I think they had double-digit guys come back who are super seniors. So they are incredibly, incredibly experienced. So much returning production coming back. They're top 10 in our returning production calculations offensively, top 30 nationally. And so they are 7th in our power ratings, which is pretty impressive, because talent is that number one number, and Iowa State, because of the experience, because of the production that they've been able to accumulate, according to our calculations, now has a top 10 roster in college football. So it's going to be a test case in some ways, because they definitely do not meet that blue chip ratio, the 50% of 4 or 5-star guys on the roster. So it's quite possible that maybe they're going to bump up against a ceiling that you just can't quite overcome from just raw talent. But sort of the way we calculate things, and we do put an emphasis on experience and production, they're going to be in the mix, 7th in our power rankings, 2nd in the Big 12, pretty heavy underdog to Oklahoma, but we've seen that they certainly can hang with and even beat Oklahoma. So I think they're going to be in the mix. I think they, definitely can be a double-digit win team, and give Oklahoma a test in that Big 12 championship game. And if things click and they maybe only lose to Oklahoma, they might have a chance to sneak in the playoff. I think they're capable of that.
With Iowa State. Oh, do you want me to go ahead, Sosa? So with Iowa State here, when you look at Nick's Patron, where you get the team profiles for each, where he mentioned and just briefly passed over, but he has every spread projected and it does update. It looks like if Iowa State makes it through the Cyhawk game and then basically gets to that OU game, they could potentially run the board. But my favorite thing, just to get off track real quick, and then we'll go back into some real talk, the video game rating system that you have in here has EA Sports.
I'll be right back. I have to take this call. Give me 1 second.
Yep. Has EA Sports or the football game reached out to you, or is that going to be my job, is to compile it as a roster that you can update onto it? Because the video game rating, because you have it for every player, and that's one thing when I look into my capping, like I know their unit strength is pretty good, but it kind of gives you a little rough gauge of exactly where they're going to be. So I just wanted to say, has EA Sports reached out to you yet?
No, they have not. And if they would, I'm always open to opportunities and to talk. But yeah, that was sort of the basis, obviously, of doing the player ratings the way I do. I grew up playing the NCAA game and Madden, and still dabble a little bit in FIFA now and then. And it just made sense to put it sort of on that scale where a high 90s player is a great player, a guy in the 60s is among the worst. And it just sort of fit, and it was pretty easy to convert those 247 ratings, weighted by experience and kind of correlated pretty well with what a blue chip true freshman would come in as a low 80s player in the NCAA game, and I did kind of use that as a guide. And our maximum rating is 100. We don't stop at 99, but yeah, it's intended to kind of follow that similar rating system that you would expect, or that you saw in the NCAA game. So if they call, I'd certainly talk to them, because it's we definitely have 11,000, 12,000 of them set up. So
2K Sports is doing an NFL game as of next year. Madden doesn't own exclusive rights anymore to the NFL, and we're going to get the college football game back now with the image and likeness. That's guaranteed. When now you can put the players' names on the back of the uniforms. Oh my goodness, it's coming. But yeah, I always used to like the college game. It was always usually pretty easy. You just create a guy and then you could beat everybody. But I'm excited for that returning as well. As you see, we got a few questions in the comments. Is Clay Helton finally going to be fired? I'm guessing he's a USC fan. Your thoughts on USF? Is Clay Helton getting fired? What are your thoughts?
So USC is our highest rated Pac-12 team, and that is not probably a surprise. I mean, the talent numbers are there. I know they had a dip in recruiting a couple of years ago, but they're a pretty experienced team as well. Have a quarterback to build around, Keaton Slovis, who, similar to Purdy, maybe didn't make as big a jump last year as you would expect, but still solid. Very few weaknesses on the roster. The problem has been living up to that talent profile, and Helton, as a lot of people, invested in that program has had a history of maybe not quite doing that. But last year, they got lucky to beat Arizona State, but then they were pretty impressive until the Pac-12 championship game. Our numbers expect them to be double-digit favorites in the first 5 regular season games. Utah, they're about a field goal favorite right now. And then in the second half of the season, only see them as an underdog against Notre Dame and Arizona State. So I would expect, if everything went according to plan and they're 10-2 and definitely in the mix in the Pac-12 South, it's difficult to envision firing a guy. But if they, lose a couple of games that they're not supposed to, go 7-5, something like that, 8-4, then yeah, I think it's probably getting pretty close to time. It's hard to dodge those sort of things forever. USF is a pretty interesting team, I think. I'll say every team is interesting because they all are to me, but they're modest at the least expectations. They're 109th right now in our power rankings, 9th in the American, but they have invested pretty heavily in the transfer portal. That's something that we see it more the last year or two now that 247 Sports has its updated thing. But one of the things that we were, I think, a little bit early on was tracking every transfer we could get our hands on, putting that into the depth charts and taking track of that. And a couple of years ago, USF was really heavy in transfers with Charlie Strong, and it hurt me because our numbers were maybe overvaluing those transfers. And so I learned a lesson with USF in, I think it was 2019, where our numbers said that said they were going to be like a top 40 team, and they get just absolutely smashed by Wisconsin, and things just go poorly. But fortunately, I have enough ego to put all my stuff out there, but I also, I think, am able to learn and willing to change. And so I realized, hey, we're overweighting maybe some transfers, we're overweighting experience a little bit. And so USF is a team that I keep a little bit of a close eye on, because they specifically were one that kind of damaged our numbers for a little bit, but that we learned from. But one second.
I have to address that Charlie Strong comment. Betting Joe's, you're my boy, but Charlie Strong has been set up to fail his last 2 jobs. All right. I'm upset that he left Louisville, which he should have never done. Had he stayed at Louisville, he'd have built a powerhouse there. He'd have been fine.
Yeah, they were rolling.
He left to go to Texas, and when he went to Texas, Texas was broken. Look, Texas. The facilities were trash. They were a decade gone from Mac Brown. I have to defend Charlie Strong because he's
sure.
I have no choice. The facilities were ass. They didn't get new facilities at Texas till Tom Herman became the coach. If you think that selling a network was enough, right, bro? Like I said, he should have never left Louisville. What Charlie Strong do? Charlie Strong recruited Chris Leak and Tim Tebow to the University of Florida. He went to Virginia and went and got Percy Harvin. What did Charlie Strong do without Teddy? That's how he got the job in Louisville. He recruited all of Urban Meyer's good players at Florida. You should check that out before you start going in on him. That's the reason why he continuously kept getting jobs. He might not have won where he went, but he put a lot of guys in the NFL. And he made schools a lot of money outside of actually winning games at Texas. And if Texas wasn't broken, why is Tom Herman out of a job? Was he worse than Charlie Strong? I'm just asking. I
was not expecting a Charlie Strong debate when we brought him on.
Charlie has gotten the short end of the stick both of the time since he's left Louisville. Now, I'm not going to lie. When he got the job at Texas, he was considered the flavor of the week. But what he did at Louisville post-Petrino was he did a great fucking job. In my opinion, he did a great job. That's why he got another job at Texas. But again, Texas, the only thing they had to sell was a TV network. I mean, bro, YouTube's doing better numbers in some Texas games. Why would you care? Right?
Yeah. So let's get into.
I had to.
You're all good.
Hey,
We've had Nick for 15 minutes. Let's get into some week 0 and week 1, and how we'll wrap up our college football. Is there anything else, Nick, you want to get into before we go to 0 and 1?
No, we can get going for sure.
So I know everyone's dying to talk about the return of the Huskies. We got Yukon coming back. You can get all of Nick's numbers and projections on his Patreon. Just check out his Twitter. It's the easiest way to get there. So whatever you're willing to share with us, if you want to give some people a little secret sauce or whatever like that. But with this Yukon at Fresno, I know our one buddy's already put a little bit too much on the Yukon plus 27.5. So should he be feeling confident or should he be worried?
So we've got 3 different models, and I write up each of these and do a little matchup graphic each week and release that to our patrons. And I try I definitely get that out to our Patreon supporters before I talk about it anywhere else. But after that point, I'm willing to discuss it on my podcast, and then happy to share with you guys as well. So Fresno State and Yukon, a little bit tricky because, of course, Yukon didn't play last year. So we had to just sort of insert generic team performance ratings and basically just gave them, a really, really low one just based on the previous years, quite honestly, just sort of had to assume. So Yukon's coming in 128th in our ratings. They don't, recruited a super high level. They're 126th in roster strength. So it's the expectations are, of course, very, very low. We do have them covering in our talent edge model against Fresno State, was just the talent because, Fresno State, fellow G5 team, we would expect if talent were the only factor, Fresno State would be about a 2-touchdown favorite. And our stats only model is similar, about 2 touchdowns there. And that model is a little bit tricky in non-conference games, but it has had some success picking some sort of strange early season upsets as well. But the official model, the one I always refer to, primarily does incorporate all the coaching, does incorporate all the everything we've got basically, and it right now has Fresno State as a 37-point favorite. So it's tricky, of course, because Yukon is such an unknown, having not played much last year. I know they've got one defensive lineman that's got some NFL scouts really excited. They brought in a couple of Power 5 transfers for depth on the offensive side. Kevin Mintz is a running back I like. They've got some talented guys in the receiving room. So I could see them being an improved team. But right now, sort of the way things look in our numbers, and part of it is Fresno State. We actually are pretty high on Fresno State this year. Our first run of statistical projections expected Fresno State to have one of the top 3 passing offenses in the country this year. So you add that to the fact that they've got a maximum rated running back in Ronnie Rivers. So they offensively should be really, really strong this year. Yukon defensively has been an issue in recent years. So yeah, we see a big Fresno State blowout in our official model. So that might not line up with with your friend.
Phoenix Jackson's a great name. Hey man, listen, if you betting on a football school or a basketball school in football, best of luck to you. That's what I say. I don't bet on basketball schools come football season. There's certain teams you just gotta. Yukon's a basketball school. I'm like I said, I'm not like with that game. I'm not touching that. What are as far as week 0, week 1, like what of I
was gonna say Nebraska, Illinois starts it all off. So everyone wants to be gambling on the first potential game you can be. Are we back in the home dogs?
So that one, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, if that's the right term for me, where our numbers don't see much of an edge. I like that in some cases because it shows, hey, we're not too far off of what the experts or odds makers are out there saying. We have Nebraska favored by 7.5. And in our official number and in the other two models, Nebraska has a big talent edge, but the stats model, they're a little closer. So when the three different ones are so spread out, we for the most part stay away. But with the official model, we're slightly leaning to Nebraska in that one. But I don't have a strong level of confidence in that because it is possible that we're overrating Nebraska at the quarterback position. Adrian Martinez is pretty highly rated in our formula, and similar to a couple of the other guys we talked about, he hasn't quite progressed yet. And he'll pop off every once in a while and run for 150 yards, might throw for 300 yards, but it's not at all consistent. So it's I think we might be just a touch high on Nebraska, but it's nothing that I don't have a strong feel for that particular game. I know people are itching to put something on it. So we do grade all of our projections against the spread and keep track of all that. We are on Nebraska minus, I believe 6.5 when we posted. But we do favor Nebraska by 7.5.
Real quick. Also, I was looking at that. Do you think that that investigation that's going on there in regards to what was going on at Nebraska, do you think that plays any part in this game? I mean, do you think it has any? Because, like you said, from what I saw as well, that the talent disparity is there. Illinois is going to play. Illinois is tough against Big Ten teams. I don't know about out of conference how good they are, and then like out of conference against teams that are projected to be pretty good. Do you think that plays any part at all in this particular matchup?
It's a good question. It's a little bit tricky, and of course, the work we do with the numbers doesn't take that into account at all. And I could see it going multiple ways. I could see it being something that impacts the locker room. Reporters are always asking about it, and maybe there's just more tension in that room, and it's more difficult to prepare. But then on the other hand, and this has been long ago, but remember there were some teams in the 90s that didn't, were ineligible for bowl games and stuff like that. And in certain cases, Ohio State had it the Urban Meyer's first year. It seemed like in some ways the team kind of rallied around it a little bit and ended up having, undefeated season and going off and doing great things. So I can't project how it would. I don't have a strong opinion on if it would be a major negative. I don't know that it's a positive necessarily, but I would side to saying that no, it probably won't have an effect on this particular game. It's more so, I think, the unknown a little bit of Illinois. What are they going to look like with Brett Bielema now as head coach, new coordinators on both sides of the ball? They made some decent hires, I think, but going to be really interested to see what they look like and what his time in the NFL, what that has done, if anything, to change what a Brett Bielema style of team looks like on the field compared to what we saw at Arkansas and previously Wisconsin.
I really can't believe Syracuse is a dog at Ohio in week 1. I know that one's further out, but I was just scrolling through the rest of the board. I think they're the only Power 5 not favored against a group of 5.
Could be. And Syracuse is a weird one because they don't recruit at a high level. They're 65th in our roster strength ratings, but they were so bad last year, and part of that
they were.
They didn't get much much help by playing a non-conference game. They only had the one against Liberty, which of course wasn't a great matchup for anybody last year.
Mm-hmm.
But they ranked 117th in our overall team performance ratings last year, 124th offensively, and that's 125th passing and 124th rushing. Their defense was a bright spot, I guess, if you want to call it that, but they still ranked 84th overall in defensive team performance. So those numbers are about 30% of our overall power ratings numbers, those team performance. And then in the preseason, we incorporate 3-year weighted averages and 5-year weighted averages. Just some research Bill Connolly has done shows that's a little more predictive. You use a wider window than just the most previous year, and I think this year is probably more important maybe than ever. And Syracuse ranks 104th over that 3-year window and 103rd in the 5-year window. So they've just even with what was it, 2019, 2018, they had a really, really solid year.
Yep.
But they've been in that triple digit area for so long in Ohio, who recruits among the bottom in the FBS. I mean, they're triple digits across the board in most of our talent numbers, but they've consistently played at a higher level than their talent profile. They're 39th in team performance last year, 32 in the 3-year weighted average, 29 in the 5-year weighted average. So, we look at that on-field success that Ohio's had compared to Syracuse, and we see Ohio as a pretty significant favorite in that game.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that kind of caught out and popped my eye there. Sosa, you got anything else before I got one last question for him?
Who's the head coach at Ohio? Is it the same old guy from?
So Frank Solich retired just a month ago, and their longtime offensive coordinator, I believe, took over, Tim Albin. So he's 22nd in our offensive coordinator ratings, but we just give a generic head coach rating when a new guy comes in, first year head coach. So Ohio actually would be a little bit higher rated had Solich stayed, because we did have to knock them down a little bit for that head coach rating. Right. So that's a question. I mean, what are they going to look any different? I mean, the whole coaching staff's been there for more than a decade, so they're probably going to be pretty close to that.
I mean, obviously we know Solich from the Nebraska days when they were dominant and you could play that style of football and dominate. And he did a really good job there. As far as questions for this season, honestly, man, I'd like to have you on here a little more often. It's week 1, it's week 0 per se. Would love to have you on here like a little bit more throughout the season, just based on when performance actually gives you more data to generate different numbers as the season progresses. That's something I would definitely love.
Yeah, I would be happy to. Would love to. And one of the things that we've had success with in the past is our numbers have gotten better over the course of the year, and I think that's because we do track injuries, we track personnel stuff that just other folks doing work like we do maybe just don't have the time to go that deep, and it's paid off a little bit for us in especially the second half of the year. Our bowl game numbers have been pretty solid for the most part. So hopefully the way we set things up, that'll continue. That will provide hopefully even more value as the season progresses, just based on the way we do it.
I have 2 more questions.
Sure.
Does Notre Dame have a chance to win everything? I'm a Notre Dame fan. And secondly, if you were to put some money on Heisman Trophy futures, I need the 3 guys you would do it with.
Okay. All right. So Notre Dame, the schedule's favorable. We have them favored in 11 of 12 regular season games, but there are 3 toss-ups with projected point spreads within 2 points: USC, Cincinnati, and Wisconsin. I am anytime there's turnover at the quarterback position, I get a little bit worried. I think that Jack Cohn is going to be fine. I think if he limits their ceiling, they've got some talented guys behind him that maybe can help out a little bit. I think Michael Mayer is one of the best tight ends in college football. I'm a little curious what the offensive line is going to look like. They're starting a true freshman at left tackle. I'm sure he's awesome, but that's not, just starting true freshman at left tackle isn't something that I usually see as a positive. But Kyle Hamilton's one of my absolute favorite players. I mean, he's an absolute stud. And so they've got, I think, enough that, we project a final record of 9-3. So you get a couple of toss-ups that go the right way. 11-1 is certainly within the realm of possibility. And if that happens, then, they could still be in the mix. And if you get a ticket to the playoff, even though it hasn't gone, super well recently for them there, you have a shot. So I could game out, possibly, but I think the odds this year are against it just based on some of the turnover. And then I'm sorry, what was the second one? Oh, Heisman.
It's better than playing for that annual ass whooping that has been the playoff for us. We get to the playoffs and get beat by 3 touchdowns. Yeah. And then the final part was the 3 guys, Heisman. If you were going to bet today, futures wise, who are they?
So I need to pull up the board here a little bit. I similarly to what I was talking about with Georgia and Oklahoma, I do most of my Heisman stuff very early on, just trying to game out a little bit. So I'm invested in CJ Stroud from Ohio State. I just, I think that he had a little bit more value than a first-year guy like Bryce Young or DJ Uiagalelei, who's right now second and third basically in the odd screen that I'm looking at. So Stroud is, now that he's fully got the job, is in the top 5 or 6. So maybe that's not quite as much value. But I think I might lean toward Spencer Rattler, the favorite. I mean, it's not usual, obviously, that the preseason favorite will make it through and win it. But he has got what I think is the best offense in college football, best offensive play caller in Lincoln Riley. They've got weapons around him, and they Marvin Mims is a good, solid number 1 receiver. He's probably not a superstar, but they're 5-6 deep there. They've got H-backs and tight ends that can get the ball. They're solid in the running game as well. So I think that it's set up pretty well for Rattler as one of the top quarterbacks who's got experience and has a supporting cast with no weaknesses around him. But if you're looking for maybe a real underdog,
that's what we like.
Yeah. So Emory Jones at Florida. I've thought at times that Emory Jones was a better fit for what Dan Mullen wanted to do schematically at Florida. Obviously, Kyle Trask had such a great year last year, but Jones is more athletic, still has a great arm, is set up to play a lot of high-profile games, including Alabama in the SEC opener in Week 3 at home. And I've seen some things written from some real sharp, smart folks about Heisman futures, where one of the things to look for is a early season, where you can make your big Heisman moment early, and then that can help, carry you through and raise your profile, all that good stuff. If Florida and Alabama, are going at it in a shootout type game, and maybe even Jones can somehow lead them to an upset in that game, then I think he's absolutely going to be in the conversation for the Heisman Trophy, and being a quarterback that can do more damage on the ground, similar to what we've seen some guys in Mullen's system do in the past. has an opportunity to score a lot on the ground as well as put up good passing numbers. So I think he's probably somebody that could make a run.
Okay, all right. I guess whatever else you had, Rex, but make sure you guys are following Nick at CFB Winning Edge on Twitter. Yeah, I mean, I feel smarter. The 40 minutes in, I feel like I'm ready to just dominate college football. I don't know about that. I'm ready.
But we're cautiously optimistic. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm I can talk about this stuff forever. I shy away a little bit from saying we're gonna dominate it, but I think we've got a pretty good.
We're gonna murder the books. We're gonna murder the books.
I hope so.
Yeah, if you want to hear Nick talk a lot more, his pods are great. I mean, I think the Big Ten was 3 hours when I drove to from Chicago to Philly. I mean, it was perfect. I just had everything I needed in one ride. But yeah, if you want a nice long pods or anything like that, he has weekly pods out that you guys should be listening to on Apple, Spotify, everywhere.
And for all of our viewers, y'all know we don't bring people on this show that don't know what they're doing or don't know what they're talking about. We don't do that. We brought Spin Doctor on. You guys have seen what he's doing numbers-wise. It's insane. What he's doing is ridiculous. I believe that Nick is primed for a great year. Like I said, information and data is one thing. It's like, but you seem like you've done this for such a long time that it's that you like I said, you're locked in. Kyle, especially with the Google Doc that he was telling me about. My goodness, like. That's a lot. There's a lot of D1 teams.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of outside interest. I'm fortunate enough that this is what I get to spend all day working on, and then once it's time to shut it down at night, I just watch Love Boat reruns with my wife, and that's pretty much college football and hanging out with her, and that's all I do. So I could not be. I couldn't help anybody with NFL or MLB, any of that. This is just the thing that I spend my time on. So
you just confused a couple people. They're like Googling Love Boat. What the fuck is he talking about? Like Love Boat?
Oh yeah. It was a show in the 70s and 80s, but we're very old.
Nah, man. Like I said, we appreciate it. Like I said, this is I love learning about sports. Hey, see, y'all don't understand, man. Charlie Strong got a raw deal at Texas and at USF.
We're back here again. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You tapping in with us. We're gonna talk some baseball. So
make sure you guys are locked in with Nick. Follow him on Twitter. Check out his Patreon. Check out everything he's got online. I will be promoting the hell out of all of his stuff because I'm probably going to tail every college football pick the rest of the season. So
thanks, guys. Appreciate
make sure
it.
you lock in with
Good
him.
luck to you.
Appreciate you, Nick.
Thank you.
Make sure we'll have you. We'll make sure to have you back on here soon. My man. Peace. Yeah, man. So
that was a lot longer. We were only thinking about going 20 minutes with them, but that's where I just know it could go anywhere. Thank you to the guys who are asking the questions to them. Those are solid questions we got in there. But baseball, let's just give a quick, dirty rundown. Kind of football, we're all jonesing for it. It's week 0. We had to ask them about the games. So baseball, what are you liking?
Man, baseball been rough for me last couple of days. I'll be honest. But we don't get discouraged. We just keep going. To start the day, I'm going with the Los Angeles Angels team total against Keegan Aiken. You already know why. He's a trash can. He fucking sucks. That game's in about 20 minutes. Lock it in. Over 5.5. Angels at -108. You have no problems with that at all. Another couple early games that I'm on. I'm 100% on the Brewers money line today against the Reds. That's at -108 as well. I just feel like Milwaukee is gonna, they play a little better at the crib per se. Go ahead and take him at Notre Dame. We've got a coach. Thanks. I love Charlie, but we got a coach. Relax. Phillies -1.5. Ah, man, who is pitching for Tampa Bay today? I was looking at that.
No,
I played
it's
Tampa Bay.
Arizona's coming back
Oh,
after
yeah,
getting
Philly.
swept. If they don't sweep these guys, I'm just all my not hopes for the
Play.
playoffs are done. If it's not a clean 3-game sweep, watching that game last night with all the guys, that was just a brutal way.
Oh
to
my
fuck game.
Lord, bruh. I had
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, the Phillies tricked so bad. It's just what happens when you get to the bullpen, man. You never taking them full game is the ultimate sweat job. Because once they get to the 9th inning,
Boom.
you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Yeah, I mean, the Rays are off today, yeah. But they're playing the Dynamite.
You're all good. It was you guys won the game and showed us up. It was what you're supposed to do. If we grinded out that gross game last night, I would have felt great, but
Phillies on the run line -1.
The bullpen. Yeah, that was right. The bullpen never gave in there. Wheeler gave up the bomb in the 9th. They kept them going. That was crazy, keeping Wheeler in there for the full game. What was your next one, Sosa?
My next one is the San Francisco Giants on the run line today at -105. That's at +130 as well. I like them in this spot against Carrasco. Alex Wood been solid all year. Give me the Giants to finish off the Mets in this series at +132. Giants obviously going for a sweep. They need it. They're only 1.5 up on the Dodgers in the West, so they have no margin for losing. They have to continue to win. Is it 1.5 or it might be 2.5 right now? It's 2.5 right now. 88. They have already won 82 games. It's crazy to me, bro. 82 games.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Especially with that manager in there.
Sheesh.
I like the Sox team total over today. White Sox, sorry. The White Sox team total over today. Going against Rue, who, I mean, he 12-5 on the season. Last 5 starts, he's given up 5.8 ERA. And then when the White Sox face the lefties, they're averaging 0.5 more runs than on average. So I'm just getting the exact line on the White Sox team or what I locked it in at earlier today.
Over 4 at -105 is what I have.
Yes, sir. Give me that, please.
Yes, sir. That's what I have. I like the play. With that being said, do you like the over as well? Because I thought the over was a good play. But the Blue Jays have been just god awful with
finishing off games they've been god awful, but the reason why I'm not
their team total the last 10. That's what I was trying to say. Last 10 games they've been terrible getting their team total. It used to be one of the safer bets. Without Springer in the lineup, it's like they've forgotten how to hit.
Yep. And the biggest reason why I'm staying off Toronto's full game over here is because against the lefties so far this season, I mean, it's just a trend, but they're 11-21 to the over. So against lefties, their bats just not that they haven't came back alive, but they're averaging 2.7 runs over their past few games. So they're not at the hottest time. Neither is the White Sox. So you could either back either team here. So I wouldn't get you off the over there. I'm just targeting on the one team. Because when White Sox play lefties, I always look at that game very tough because the White Sox kind of own lefties at this point still.
I hear you. Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right
Not
there.
backing the fish today?
No.
Corbin's on the mound though. You like the fade Corbin?
I wasn't gonna touch the game just because both teams suck. Like I'm staying. No,
I got you.
Staying away from both teams. Fucking stink. Give me nothing on that. I'm Gucci. We're right back with the. I also think I'm also going to continue rolling with the Yankees, man. I really am.
Yeah, I can't believe they really gave us a dog price on them the other day when Morton was on the mound on our last show on Tuesday.
And I also think the Dodgers sweep today. Take them on the money line at -132. It's a little juice, but take them on the money line at -132.
I mean, it's Mad Max.
Yeah, I'm taking the Yankees on the run line -1.5 at +136. I think they keep it rolling, man. Not concerned. The Yankees are cream of the crop right now, man. They're playing great baseball. Not concerned at all.
Yeah, no, it's tough to. I mean, you're poking at holes right now to try to figure out what they ain't doing well. I guess the biggest thing is Araldis. That's the biggest thing that they have to worry about.
But the thing is, I can't even fault him the other night. That was his first game back. First game back. That I'm cool with that. They still won. But I'm not really too heavy on giving him issues. Like if he comes back and he's a shell of his former self, they'll be fine. But and then also the other guys have pitched well in the bullpen throughout the second half of the season. So outside of that, I got the Yankees on the run line at +136, -1.5. The Dodgers on the run line at -1.5, +126 against Darvish. I'm also going to go. There were 11 Major League Baseball games that went no runs first inning yesterday. 11 of the 15. So
what does that mean for today?
Probably is not going to happen again like that today. So be careful with your Nerfy bets. I gave 2 out yesterday to my clients. They both hit, and then when they both hit, I was like, okay, let me kind of check because the last few days I've been doing it and it would be like 40% of the games, 55% of the games. Now it went way higher yesterday. Went 11 games, no runs first inning. So just be careful with betting that. I'm also today gonna I'm 100% betting my usual my usual props.
Gotta get your bases.
Merrifield, Marte, each to get a stolen base. Both right now, both of those players, you're getting the odds at over +300. They haven't gotten one in 2 games consecutively. So it's worth it. It's time for them to do that. Starling, Marte, and Whit Merrifield to get a stolen base +300 each. I think Marte was like a +310 when I saw it earlier. So lock that in. That's pretty much all I have for baseball. I'm trying to keep it light. The schedule has been a bit intimidating as of recently. A lot of bullshit going on.
Yeah, I'm just rocking with your plays there. The White Sox team total over because tomorrow we got the footy action is back. So that's where my brain's been on the weekend soccer slate. So that's where it needs to be.
I love to hear it.
But yes, thank you again to Nick who joined us, Nicholas Ian Allen. Make sure to check out CFB Winning Edge. We just kept it rolling down there. Good friend that we're now officially friends. I've been listening to his pod for the past 2 years. College Football Heads, if you don't want ESPN or one of the main ones, it's your one to go to. Other than that, Sosa, back live tomorrow. It's draft day for me, so my mind will be a little bit fantasy football related, but we'll have all the soccer bets ready for you.
I got to know, what's on the menu for dinner?
I can get Tom to send it to you, but I'm sitting across from the pizza oven that we brought. So I'm currently in a house with 15 dudes for our fantasy football draft. We brought a pizza oven down. They have one guy's making peach cobbler. One guy's not in the league. He just comes to cook. It is a great setup and a great time. It's all my boys from college, all local Hawks.
I remember you telling me about the chef. So that's what I want to know. What's on the menu? What are we doing here?
We have a seafood boil the one night.
Ooh, okay.
I think we're going out to dinner tonight. Then tomorrow will be like the Masters dinner style, just grab and go. You'll have a few steaks, probably burgers. I don't know. I was on the food team this year. I was just on the drinking team.
Okay.
But yes, sir. Until tomorrow, thank you all for usuals tapping in. Daily Bread. Give us that like. Give us that follow. Give us that subscribe. Make sure you give Nick a follow as well. Until tomorrow, deuces.
Appreciate y'all.